Trump has given a major new oil pipeline from Canada into the U.S. the go-ahead.
The Trump administration is warning Canada against using energy as leverage in the CUSMA review. Trump says he doesn't need anything from Canada, but that's not true of refineries in the states.
We don't need them. They wouldn't sign a pipeline deal. We have pipelines going up. And by the way, they're way underground. They're not a problem. Nobody even knows they're there. It's so crazy, but they wouldn't approve anything having to do with the pipeline, and they're great.
Now Donald Trump wants Canada to build a brand new pipeline, one that would lock that supply into the U.S. market for the next 50 years at a discount.
Slightly different than the last administration. They wouldn't sign a pipeline deal. We have pipelines going up.
Mark Carney said no.
Should we be further integrating our energy markets with the United States at a time they view that as, quote, leverage?
And the numbers suggest that the decision could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars to Canada. In early 2025, President Trump signed an executive order paving the way for the Bridger Pipeline, a project that would carry 550,000 barrels of Alberta crude per day across the U.S. border, reviving key sections of the canceled Keystone XL route.
We trade almost all of our natural gas and oil with the United States. We think it's in our interest to diversify that.
Trump framed it as a win for North American energy dominance. Alberta's energy industry took notice immediately. Producers have spent years watching Canadian oil sell below its actual market value. A new pipeline moving product quickly and cheaply into American refineries looked, on the surface, like exactly what they needed.
We have an opportunity to be an energy superpower, but instead we're choosing to be an energy colony of the United States again.
But Prime Minister Mark Carney asked a different question. Should Canada be deepening its dependence on a market that openly views that dependence as leverage? His answer was no. And the reasoning behind that answer is more important than the pipeline itself. Here is the core problem Canada has been living with for decades. Canada sells nearly all of its oil and natural gas to one customer, the United States. And because Canada has had no alternative export route, it has been forced to sell at a discount.
It's a huge deal in terms of long-term energy dominance.
Canadian heavy crude, Western Canadian Select, has historically traded between $10 and $20 below the West Texas Intermediate benchmark price. That gap exists entirely because Canadian producers have nowhere else to go. Meanwhile, U.S. refineries, particularly across the Midwest and Gulf Coast, are specifically engineered to process Canadian heavy crude.
If Canada moves more of it to Asia, that could drive up prices and constrain supply stateside. Trading a new pipeline for tariff relief?
These are not flexible systems. Reconfiguring them to run on alternative supply would take years and cost billions of dollars. Canada holds the dependency card in this relationship. It has simply never played it. The Bridger Pipeline would not fix that imbalance. It would deepen it, adding 550,000 barrels per day of new cross-border capacity while keeping Canada locked to one buyer. Why has this discount problem persisted for so long? The answer is infrastructure, or the lack of it. Without a functioning pipeline to Canada's Pacific coast, Alberta producers have always been captive to the American market. There was simply no other way to move the product. Trans Mountain, Canada's only oil export pipeline to the BC coast, was completed in 2024 after years of delays and billions in cost overruns. It is now ramping capacity toward the Pacific for the first time in Canadian history. Long Canada, the country's first major liquefied natural gas export terminal, shipped its first cargo in 2025. For the first time, Canada has infrastructure capable of reaching Asian energy markets, markets where Canadian crude and natural gas would command significantly higher prices. Then the American discount rate. The timing of Trump's pipeline proposal is not a coincidence. If Canada redirects a meaningful share of its crude exports toward Asia through Trans Mountain, two things happen at the same time. Canadian energy producers earn more per barrel. The price gap closes. Revenues increase. That money flows back into royalties, provincial budgets, and infrastructure across Western Canada. At the same time, U.S. Midwest refineries face a tightening supply and rising input costs. Those costs move downstream, directly to American consumers at the gas pump. This is not a theory. The U.S. Congressional Joint Economic Committee has flagged Canadian crude supply as a critical input to American domestic refinery operations.